The massive view screen on the bridge of the HSS Defiance showed thousands of alien ships. They filled the darkness of space like angry stars. Admiral Jinha watched them with calm eyes that had seen too many battles. His gray uniform fit perfectly on his tall frame as he stood with his hands behind his back. "How many?" he asked quietly. Lieutenant Minho checked the sensors again. 3,422 ships, sir. The collective has brought their entire third fleet. Jinha nodded slowly. This was exactly what Earth Command had predicted. The collective, an alliance of 7 advanced alien species, had finally decided that humans were too unpredictable to be allowed their independence. For 200 years, humanity had spread carefully through the stars. They built colonies on 30 worlds, traded with alien civilizations, and shared some of their knowledge. But they always kept certain secrets. The biggest secret was how strong they really were. To the galaxy, humans appeared to have a small defense force, just enough ships to protect their trade routes and colonies from pirates. The collective's leaders believed they could easily force Earth to surrender and become a protected world under their control. They were wrong. "Admiral, they're hailing us," said Communications Officer Ha-Rin. Her dark eyes met Jin-Ha's for a moment. They had served together for 15 years and she knew what was coming. "Put them through," Jin-Ha ordered. The screen changed to show the face of Ambassador Trell of the collective. His blue-gray skin and 4 eyes were typical of the Vordak species. He looked at Jin-Ha with what humans had learned to recognize as contempt. "Admiral Jin-Ha," Trell said, his translator making his voice sound flat and emotionless. "The Collective Council has made its final decision. Humanity has become too unpredictable. Your rapid technological advancement and refusal to share all your research threatens the stability of this sector." Jinha's face remained calm. "Ambassador, we have broken no treaties. We have traded fairly. We have shared medical advances that have saved billions of lives across the galaxy. What is the real reason for this show of force?" Trell's upper eyes blinked slowly. "Your kind spreads too quickly. You think differently. You do not fit into the proper order of civilization. The Council has decided you must be contained." Behind Jinha, the bridge crew worked silently at their stations. They had trained for this day for years. Some looked afraid, but most showed the same calm determination as their admiral. "And what exactly are your demands?" Jinha asked. "Simple. All human colonies will come under direct collective control. Your military vessels will be surrendered. Earth will receive a protection fleet in orbit. Your people may continue your lives under our guidance." Trell's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "This is generous. Some council members wanted more permanent solutions." Jinha nodded slowly. "I see. And if we refuse, then we will be forced to demonstrate our power. Your 57 ships cannot stand against our fleet. Be reasonable, Admiral. Accept the inevitable." Jinha turned slightly to look at Ha-Rin. "Commander, how long have humans been part of the galactic community?" Ha-Rin straightened her shoulders. 212 years, sir. And in that time, how many wars have we started?" "None, sir." Jinha turned back to the screen. "Ambassador Trell, humanity came to the stars in peace. We have never attacked another civilization. We have honored every treaty. And now you threaten us because we don't fit in?" Trell's lower eyes narrowed. "Your peaceful appearance is precisely what concerns us. Your history on Earth was filled with war. No species changes so completely. You are hiding your true nature, and the Council will not wait to discover what you are planning." Jinha sighed. "You're right about one thing, Ambassador. We have been hiding something." He paused. "But it's not what you think." He pressed a button on his command console. "This is Admiral Jinha to all Earth forces. Authorization code Phoenix. Rising. Implement Directive 7. Trell leaned forward. "What are you doing? Your surrender must be unconditional." "We're not surrendering," Jinha said quietly. "We're revealing the truth." Across the Sol system, hidden doors began to open. On Mars, Massive hangar bays built inside hollowed-out mountains activated for the first time. On Europa, beneath the ice, launch tubes powered up. In the asteroid belt, what had appeared to be mining stations transformed as armored panels slid away to reveal weapon systems. On the bridge of the Defiance, Tactical Officer Quan's console lit up with new signals. "Sir, all hidden facilities. Report ready. First wave deployment in progress." Jinha nodded. "Ambassador Trell, the Collective has made a serious mistake. You looked at our visible fleet and assumed you knew our strength. You never asked why a species with our history would leave itself defenseless." On the view screen, Trell's expression changed as reports clearly began reaching him. "What is this? Our sensors are detecting new ships. Hundreds of them." "Not hundreds," Jinha corrected. "Thousands." The first wave of Earth's true fleet appeared from their hidden bases. 1,000 advanced fighters, 500 destroyers, and 100 capital ships, each more advanced than anything the Collective had seen before. "Impossible!" Trell shouted. "Your technology level couldn't produce vessels like these." "Ka showed you what we wanted you to see," Jinha explained. "For 2 centuries we built in secret. We remembered our violent past and promised ourselves never again would humans be at the mercy of those stronger than us." Harin stepped forward. "Sir, General Command confirms Operation Thunderclap is ready. All ships await your order." Jinha looked at the alien ambassador. "Ambassador Trell, I give you one chance. Withdraw your fleet and return to collective space. We will agree to new treaty negotiations on neutral ground." Trell's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "This is some trick. Some illusion. The Council knows your capabilities." "No," Jinha said. "You don't." He turned to Quan. "Target their command vessels. Disable only. I want to avoid casualties if possible." "Yes, sir," Quan replied, his fingers moving across his console. On the view screen, Trell was shouting orders to someone off-screen. "Launch all fighters! Target their new vessels! They cannot possibly—" The transmission cut off as the first human ships engaged. They moved with impossible speed, appearing and disappearing as their advanced drives bent space around them. The Arab collective ships fired, but their weapons passed through empty space as the human vessels shifted position faster than their targeting systems could track. "Sir," Harin reported, "our first wave has engaged. Minimal damage to our forces. 23 collective vessels disabled." Jinha watched the battle unfold on the tactical display. The collective ships were trying to form defensive positions, but they were clearly shocked by the human vessel's capabilities. "Open a channel to all collective ships," Jinha ordered. When the channel was ready, he spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Admiral Jinha of Earth Command. Your leaders have misjudged us. We do not wish this conflict. Stand down your weapons, and we will cease our attack. This is your only warning." The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. Outside, the stars were now joined by the flashes of weapons fire, as humanity revealed its true strength to a galaxy that had underestimated them for the last time. General Quan stood in the command center deep inside Deimos, Mars's smaller moon. For decades, this asteroid had appeared to be nothing more than a minor research station. In reality, it was the heart of humanity's hidden military command. The massive circular room hummed with activity. Officers moved between stations with practiced efficiency. The main display showed the battle unfolding near Jupiter, where Admiral Jinha's forces had engaged the collective fleet. "Status report," Quan demanded. His voice was deep and steady, matching his solid build and serious face. Colonel Lee stepped forward with a tablet. "Sir, first wave is fully deployed. All vessels report operational status at optimal levels. Quantum shields holding at full capacity. Phase shift drives functioning perfectly." Quan nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The collective ships were arranged in their standard formation, a pattern they had used for centuries. It was efficient against conventional attacks but completely unprepared for what humanity was about to unleash. "Begin second phase," Quan ordered. "Yes, sir. Transmitting orders now." Across the battlefield, human ships activated their most advanced systems. Technology that had been developed in secret for generations came to life. The phase shift drives allowed vessels to partially exist in multiple points in space simultaneously. The quantum shields absorbed enemy fire and converted it to usable energy. Gravitational weapons distorted space itself around enemy vessels. "Sir, the collective flagship is attempting to coordinate a counterattack," reported Major CO from the communications station. Quan allowed himself a small smile. "They're still fighting by the old rules. Show me their command vessel." The display zoomed in on a massive collective dreadnought. It was 3 times the size of Earth's largest ships, with weapon emplacements covering its surface. Under normal circumstances, it would be nearly invincible. "Target their command ship with Thunderclap protocol," Quan ordered. 5 human destroyers moved into position around the collective flagship. They seemed tiny compared to the alien vessel, but size wasn't what mattered now. The destroyers activated their gravitational lances, weapons that created focused distortions in space-time. On the display, the massive collective ship suddenly shuddered. Its shields flickered and failed as the gravitational weapons attacked not the shields themselves, but the space they occupied. The dreadnought's hull began to warp and bend in impossible ways. "Sir, we're receiving emergency broadcasts from multiple collective vessels," Major CO reported. "They're requesting immediate ceasefire for communications." Quan checked the battle statistics. In just 15 minutes, human forces had disabled or destroyed over 200 collective ships while suffering minimal damage. The aliens were finally beginning to understand what they were facing. "Patch me through to Admiral Jinha," Quan ordered. Jinha's face appeared on a side screen. "General, I see the second phase is proceeding as planned." "Yes, Admiral. The collective is requesting communications. Their flagship has been neutralized." Jinha nodded. "Good. I'll handle the diplomatic channel. Continue the operation, but hold the third wave in reserve. We want to show our strength, not our full capabilities." "Understood, Admiral." As the connection ended, Colonel Lee approached again. "Sir, we're detecting multiple FTL signatures at the edge of the system. More collective ships are arriving." Quan studied the new data. "Reinforcements. Sooner than we expected." He turned to his strategic officer. "Activate the Helios array." Throughout the solar system, hidden platforms that had been disguised as research satellites or communication relays changed position. These were the Helios array, humanity's system-wide defense network. Each platform contained weapons that could target and destroy ships even as they emerged from faster-than-light travel. As the new collective vessels appeared, the Helios array fired. Beams of concentrated energy struck the arriving ships before their systems could fully activate after the FTL jump. Explosions bloomed in the darkness of space as the reinforcements were decimated. "Sir," Major CO called out, "we're receiving a direct transmission from the collective high command. They're bypassing their fleet commanders." Quan raised an eyebrow. This was unexpected. "Put it through." The main display changed to show an alien face. This was not Ambassador Trell, but a much older Vordax. The markings on his uniform indicated he was Supreme Commander Vexnar, the highest military authority in the collective. "I speak to the human military commander," Vexnar stated. His translator made his voice sound harsh and metallic. "This is General Quan of Earth Defense Command." The alien's 4 eyes narrowed. "General, you have concealed your true military capabilities from the collective for centuries. This deception is unprecedented." Quan kept his expression neutral. "Supreme Commander, we concealed nothing that we were obligated to reveal by treaty. The collective never asked about our defensive capabilities, and we never volunteered false information." "A technical distinction," Vexnar said. "The question remains, why reveal your strength now? You could have continued this deception." "Because you forced our hand," Quan replied simply. "You brought a fleet to our home system and demanded our surrender. What did you expect us to do?" The alien was silent for a moment. "Your species has always been unpredictable. This is why the Council voted for containment." Quan leaned forward slightly. "And now you see why that was a mistake. Humanity remembers its history. We fought countless wars among ourselves before we united. We learned that peace comes through strength and readiness, not weakness. On another screen, Quan could see that the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. The collective ships were retreating, trying to regroup, but human vessels pursued them relentlessly. "What are your terms?" Vexnar asked finally. "Those will come from our civilian leadership," Quan replied. "But I can tell you this. Humanity will never accept containment. We will never surrender our independence." The alien commander seemed to age before their eyes. "We underestimated you. A rare error for the collective." "A costly one," Quan added. Before Vexnar could respond, Colonel Lee interrupted. "Sir, urgent report from the Jupiter perimeter. The collective flagship is attempting to activate some kind of weapon system. Energy readings are off the charts." Quan turned back to the alien commander. "What is your flagship doing, Supreme Commander?" Vexnar's expression changed to one that humans had learned to recognize as alarm. "No, they cannot be activating the Nova Cannon. It was brought as a demonstration only." "What is a Nova Cannon?" Quan demanded. "A weapon of last resort. It creates a miniature supernova effect. Your entire inner system could be—" Quan didn't wait to hear more. "All units near the collective flagship, priority Alpha target. Use maximum force. Colonel, activate the Sol Shield." The Sol Shield was humanity's greatest defensive achievement, a network of devices that could create a temporary energy barrier around an entire planet or moon. It had never been tested in actual combat. On the tactical display, Quan watched as 20 human ships converged on the collective flagship. The alien vessel was glowing now, energy building around its central section. "Time to weapon discharge?" Quan asked tensely. 30 seconds, sir," replied the tactical officer. "Our ships won't reach it in time," Colonel Lee said. Quan made a quick decision. "Activate the Artemis platform." Deep in the asteroid belt, a station that had appeared to be an ordinary mining operation transformed. Massive panels slid open to reveal a weapon larger than any ship in the human fleet. The Artemis platform, a last resort weapon that humanity had hoped never to use. "Artemis platform online," reported the weapons officer. "Target locked." "Fire," Quan ordered. A beam of blinding white energy shot across the solar system, traveling at near light speed. It struck the collective flagship with perfect accuracy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the massive alien vessel simply disappeared. Not in an explosion, but in a perfect sphere of nothingness that quickly collapsed in on itself. The command center fell silent. What just happened?" Colonel Lee asked finally. Quan's face was grim. "The Artemis weapon creates a temporary singularity. The collective flagship has been removed from our universe." On the main screen, Supreme Commander Vexnar stared, in shock. "Impossible, such technology is beyond even the founders." "This conversation is over," Quan said firmly. "All collective forces will withdraw from human space immediately. Any vessel remaining after 1 hour will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly." The transmission ended, and Quan turned to face his command staff. Their faces showed a mixture of pride, relief, and concern. "Send word to all Earth forces," he ordered. "Phase 2 complete. Prepare for possible counterattack but maintain defensive positions only." As his officers hurried to comply, Quan looked back at the tactical display. The collective ships were retreating in disorder, their carefully planned invasion now in ruins. The galaxy was about to learn a fundamental truth. Humanity had never forgotten how to fight. Commander Harin stood on the bridge of the HSS Vengeance, watching the stars through the main viewport. Her ship led a special battle group of 30 cruisers, each designed for a specific combat role. They had trained together for years, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. That day had arrived. "Status report," Harin ordered, her voice calm despite the tension that filled the bridge. Lieutenant Park looked up from his station. "All ships report ready, Commander. Formation is holding at optimal distance, weapons and shields at full capacity." Harin nodded. The initial battle near Jupiter had ended 6 hours ago. The collective fleet had retreated to regroup at their forward command station, a massive structure positioned just beyond Neptune's orbit. Intelligence suggested they were preparing a counterattack. Earth Command had decided not to wait for it. "Communications patch me through to all ships in the battle group," Harin said. "Channel open, Commander." Harin took a deep breath. "This is Commander Harin. For years we have trained in secret. We have prepared for this moment while hoping it would never come. The collective forced this conflict by threatening our worlds and our freedom. Now we will show them why that was a mistake." She paused, looking at the determined faces of her bridge crew. "Our mission is clear. We will disable the collective command station and capture their leadership. This is not about revenge. This is about securing humanity's future. Execute Maneuver Hydra on my mark." Harin nodded to her tactical officer. "Begin the approach." The 30 human cruisers accelerated toward the massive collective station. Unlike the standard military vessels known to the galactic community, these ships were built with technology that had been developed in secret. Their hulls contained adaptive materials that absorbed sensor scans. Their engines left no traditional energy signature. To most detection systems, they were nearly invisible. "Enemy station is scanning the area," reported the sensor officer. "They haven't detected us yet." Harin smiled slightly. "They're looking for what they expect to see. Maintain stealth approach until we reach position Alpha." The battle group continued forward, moving through space like shadows. On the tactical display, Harin could see the collective station growing larger. It was an impressive structure, a central hub with 3 massive rings rotating around it. Hundreds of ships were docked at various points, with more patrolling nearby. "We're approaching position Alpha," Lieutenant Park announced. 30 seconds. Harin straightened her uniform. "All ships prepare to execute Maneuver Hydra on my mark." She waited until they reached the exact position they had practiced countless times in simulation. "Mark!" The human battle group suddenly split into 3 coordinated attack groups, each targeting a different section of the station. The formation was named after the mythical multi-headed serpent for good reason. It allowed them to strike multiple targets simultaneously. "Stealth systems disengaging," called out the tactical officer. "Weapons hot." As the human ships dropped their concealment, alarms began blaring across the collective station. Enemy vessels scrambled to respond, but they were caught completely by surprise. "First target acquired," reported Lieutenant Park. "Firing solution ready." "Fire!" Harin ordered. The HSS Vengeance unleashed its primary weapon, a concentrated beam of exotic particles that unraveled the very atomic structure of the station's outer ring. The other cruisers in her attack group followed suit, their specialized weapons tearing through defenses designed to counter conventional attacks. On the main view screen, Harin watched as sections of the massive station began to break apart. Not in fiery explosions, but in silent, precise deconstruction as the particle beams did their work. "Commander, we're being hailed by the station," the communications officer reported. "Ignore it," Harin replied. "They had their chance for diplomacy when they entered our system with demands of surrender." The second attack group targeted the station's weapon emplacements, using precision strikes to disable them without causing catastrophic damage. The third group focused on the docking bays, preventing collective ships from launching. "Status of enemy vessels?" Harin asked. "They're attempting to form a defensive perimeter," Lieutenant Park replied. "But they're disorganized. Our attack caught them completely unprepared." Harin nodded. "Target their engine systems. Disable, don't destroy unless necessary." As her orders were carried out, Harin opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Commander Harin. Phase 1 of Operation Hydra is complete. The collective command station has been neutralized. Proceeding to Phase 2. Admiral Jinha's voice came through clearly. "Excellent work, Commander. What's the status of the collective leadership?" "We believe they're still on the station, sir. We've disabled their communications and escape routes. Boarding teams are standing by. Proceed with caution," Jinha instructed. "We need prisoners, not martyrs." "Understood, Admiral." Harin turned to her security chief. "Prepare boarding teams. Full tactical gear, Non-lethal weapons only unless absolutely necessary. Yes, Commander. As the boarding teams prepared, Harin studied the tactical display. The battle, if it could even be called that, had lasted less than 15 minutes. The collective forces, despite their superior numbers, had been completely overwhelmed by the speed and precision of the human attack. "Commander," Lieutenant Park called out, "we're detecting unusual energy readings from the central hub of the station." Harin frowned. "Analysis? It appears to be some kind of self-destruct sequence. They're trying to destroy the station rather than let us capture it." Harin made a quick decision. "All ships, target the central hub with EMP pulses, maximum power. We need to shut down their systems before they can activate the self-destruct." The human vessels adjusted their positions and fired specialized electromagnetic pulse weapons. The pulses washed over the central hub of the station, disrupting all electronic systems. "Energy readings are dropping," reported the sensor officer. "Self-destruct sequence has been interrupted." Harin nodded with satisfaction. "Launch boarding teams now. Secure the command center and capture the collective leadership. From the Vengeance and 5 other cruisers, small assault craft detached and moved toward the disabled station. Each carried 20 soldiers in advanced combat armor, another technology that humanity had kept hidden from the galactic community. "Boarding teams have breached the outer hull," reported the security chief. "Minimal resistance so far." Harin wasn't surprised. The collective, like most advanced civilizations, had grown to rely on technology rather than direct combat. Their soldiers were trained to operate weapon systems, not to fight hand-to-hand. Humans, with their violent evolutionary history, had never forgotten those skills. "Team Alpha has reached the command center," the security chief announced after several tense minutes. "They've secured it. Collective leadership is in custody." A cheer went up from the bridge crew, but Harin silenced it with a raised hand. "This isn't a victory celebration. This is just the beginning." She opened a channel to all human forces. "First objective secured. Proceed to Phase 3. As her battle group secured the station and began transferring prisoners to detention areas, Harin received a private message from Admiral Jinha. "Commander, the Collective Council has requested emergency talks. Our demonstration of force has gotten their attention. Return to Earth with the captured leadership as soon as possible." "Yes, Admiral. What about the station?" "Place demolition charges throughout the structure. Once all personnel and valuable intelligence have been removed, destroy it. We need to send a clear message." Harin acknowledged the order and turned to her executive officer. "Prepare to return to Earth and contact General Quan. Tell him Operation Thunderclap was a complete success." As the human fleet regrouped with mechanical precision, Harin looked out at the stars once more. For centuries, humanity had hidden its true strength, presenting a facade of minimal military capability to the galactic community. That deception had ended today. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. In the quiet of her command chair, Harin allowed herself a small smile. The collective had threatened Earth because they thought humans were weak. They had learned the truth in the most decisive way possible. Humanity wasn't just another species among the stars. They were the descendants of warriors, explorers, and survivors, and they had just proven it to the galaxy. Admiral Jinha walked slowly through the grand entrance of the Galactic Council chamber. The massive doors, made from materials gathered from 100 worlds, swung open silently before him. He wore his formal uniform, dark blue with silver trim, the Earth emblem displayed proudly on his chest. Behind him walked 6 human officers, including Commander Harin and General Quan. They formed a perfect line, their faces showing no emotion. This was not a military delegation. It was a statement. The council chamber was a vast circular room with 17 raised platforms arranged in a semicircle. Each platform held the representatives of a major galactic power. At the center stood the Archon's podium, where the elected leader of the council presided over meetings. Today, every seat was filled. News of the battle in the Sol system had spread quickly across the galaxy. The defeat of the collective, long, considered the dominant military power in this sector, had shocked every civilization. Jinha and his officers stopped at the center of the chamber. The room fell silent as the Archon, an ancient Tellurian with pale blue skin and 4 arms, raised his upper limbs for attention. "This emergency session of the Galactic Council is now in session," the Archon announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "We have called this meeting to address the recent incident between the Collective and Earth forces." Jinha noticed how carefully the Archon avoided using words like battle or defeat. Politics remained the same across all species. "Admiral, Jinha of Earth will present the human position," the Archon continued. "Following this, the Collective representative will respond. The Council will then deliberate on this matter." Jinha stepped forward. He carried no notes or devices. What he had to say was simple enough. "Honored Archon, representatives of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice clear and strong. 3 days ago, a collective fleet entered the Sol system, humanity's home. They demanded our surrender and threatened our extinction if we refused. He paused, looking around the chamber. Some representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "For 2 centuries, humanity has maintained peaceful relations with all galactic civilizations. We have traded fairly. We have shared medical and agricultural advances. We have respected the territories and customs of other species." Jinha gestured to the large display screen behind him, which activated to show footage of the collective fleet entering Earth's solar system. This was an unprovoked act of aggression against a sovereign species. The collective came not to negotiate, but to conquer. The collective representative, a new ambassador named Krell, who had replaced Trell after the battle, stood up. "This is misleading. The Collective Council voted for containment because humans were developing technologies in secret. You deceived the galactic community." The Archon raised his hands again. "Ambassador Krell, you will have your turn to speak. Please allow Admiral Jinha to finish." Jinha nodded in thanks. "The ambassador raises an interesting point about deception. Let me address it directly." He touched a control on his wrist, and the display changed to show images of human military installations throughout their territory, facilities that had been hidden from outside observation for generations. "For centuries we maintained the illusion of military weakness," Jinha explained. "While you watched our visible fleet, you never questioned why a species that had survived its own violent history would suddenly abandon its capacity for self-defense." Murmurs spread through the chamber as the representatives saw the true extent of human military power for the first time. "We never lied about our capabilities," Jinha continued. "No one asked, and we didn't volunteer the information. There is no galactic law or treaty that required us to reveal our defensive preparations." The Zalari representative, a tall insectoid being, rose from his seat. "Admiral, the scale of your deception is unprecedented. The Zalari Confederation has always considered humans to be minor players in galactic affairs. How did you conceal such capabilities from our censors?" Jinha turned to face the Zalari. "By understanding something fundamental about advanced civilizations, you see what you expect to see. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect." He gestured, and the display showed technical schematics of human stealth systems. "We studied how each species' detection technology worked, then designed our concealment methods accordingly. It wasn't difficult. Most civilizations stop looking for threats once they believe they understand the full picture." The chamber erupted in concerned discussion. Jinha waited patiently until the Archon called for order. "What are your demands, Admiral?" the Archon asked when quiet had returned. "They are simple," Jinha replied. "First, recognition of human sovereignty and our right to defend ourselves as we see fit. Second, non-interference in our internal affairs. Third, a formal apology from the Collective for the unprovoked aggression against our worlds." Ambassador Krell jumped to his feet again. "This is outrageous. The Collective does not apologize. We are the dominant power in this sector." "Were," General Quan said quietly, speaking for the first time. The single word echoed through the chamber. Jinha continued as if there had been no interruption. "Finally, we demand reparations for the damage caused to our outer system facilities during the Collective's attack. The Archon looked troubled. These terms seem reasonable, given the circumstances. However, the Council must consider the implications of a species concealing such military power. It sets a concerning precedent. Jinha nodded. We understand your concern, Archon. But consider this from our perspective. When humanity first joined the galactic community, we studied your histories. We learned that new species were often exploited, or controlled until they proved themselves capable of self-defense. He gestured to Commander Harin, who stepped forward with a data crystal. She placed it on the central podium. This contains historical records of 17 cases where emerging civilizations were subjugated by more advanced species, including 3 cases involving the collective. We chose a different path. The Archon examined the crystal briefly, then looked up with an expression that humans had learned to recognize as resignation. The Council will need time to deliberate on these matters, he said finally. Ambassador Krell, you may now present the collective's position. Krell stepped to the center of the chamber, his blue-gray skin flushed with darker patches, a sign of anger in his species. The collective rejects the human characterization of our actions, he began. We acted to preserve galactic stability. Humans have proven themselves unpredictable and dangerous. Their hidden military buildup confirms our concerns. Jinha remained, expressionless as Krell continued. Furthermore, the weapons they used against our forces violated multiple conventions on acceptable military technology. The so-called Artemis platform created a localized singularity, a weapon that could potentially destabilize space-time itself. Murmurs of concern spread through the chamber again. Jinha waited until they subsided before responding. The Artemis platform was activated only after your flagship attempted to deploy a Nova cannon, a weapon that would have destroyed most of our inner system. We have the sensor logs to prove it. He nodded to Ha-Rin, who added another data crystal to the podium. This contains complete records of the battle, including the energy signatures from your flagship before it was neutralized. Your own weapons violated the same conventions you now cite against us. Krell seemed to deflate slightly. The Nova cannon was brought as a demonstration only. It was never meant to be used. Then why was it activated? Jinha asked simply. The collective ambassador had no answer. The Archon studied both data crystals, then addressed the chamber. The Council will review all evidence presented. We will reconvene in 3 cycles to deliver our decision. As the session ended, representatives from various worlds approached Jinha and his officers. Some seemed fearful, others curious, and a few appeared almost respectful. The Tellurian representative, an elder statesman named Vox, spoke quietly to Jinha. You have changed the balance of power in a single day, Admiral. Not since the Founder Wars has the galaxy seen such a shift. Jinha nodded. That was not our intention. We only wanted to live in peace. Perhaps, Vox replied. But peace takes many forms. The peace of equals is very different from the peace of the subjugated. As they left the chamber, Harin moved closer to Jinha. Do you think they'll accept our terms? Jinha looked back at the council chamber, where representatives were still discussing what they had learned about humanity's true capabilities. They have no choice, he said simply. The galaxy has just discovered that humans are not what they appeared to be. That knowledge cannot be unlearned. The human delegation walked through the grand hallways of the council building, passing representatives from dozens of worlds. Where once they might have been ignored as minor players in galactic politics, now every eye followed their progress. The galaxy had trembled at humanity's revelation. But in that trembling lay the foundation for a more honest peace. 1 year after the battle that changed the galaxy, Quan stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony Station. The massive structure orbited Earth at a distance that gave a perfect view of the blue planet below. Through the curved, transparent walls, he could see ships from a dozen different worlds moving in careful patterns around the station. Quan wore a simple dark uniform without rank insignia. Today was not a military occasion but a diplomatic one. Representatives from across the galaxy were arriving for the signing of the Terran Accords, a new set of treaties that would reshape relations between humanity and the rest of the galactic community. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said a familiar voice behind him. Quan turned to see Harin approaching. She too had abandoned her military uniform for formal diplomatic attire. "It reminds me why we did all this," Quan replied, gesturing toward Earth. "To protect that. Our home." Harin stood beside him at the viewport. "I never thought I'd see alien ships orbiting Earth without feeling worried." "Times change," Quan said. "We've all had to adjust to the new reality." The new reality had come quickly after the Galactic Council's decision. Faced with irrefutable evidence of the collective's aggression and humanity's right to self-defense, the Council had accepted all of Earth's demands. The collective had been forced to issue a formal apology and pay significant reparations. More importantly, humanity's status in the galaxy had been transformed overnight. From a minor power barely worth noticing, Earth had become a major player that no one could afford to ignore. "Admiral Jinha is meeting with the Archon now," Harin said. "The final details of the Accords are being reviewed before the ceremony." Quan nodded. "Any problems?" "Nothing significant. The Zalari wanted some changes to the technology exchange protocols, but they accepted our counteroffer." A soft chime sounded, indicating that more delegates were arriving at the station. Quan and Harin watched as a sleek vessel with the markings for the Tellurian Confederation docked at one of the outer bays. "They fear us now," Harin said quietly. Quan considered this. Fear is not what we wanted, but respect was long overdue. Is it respect if it comes from fear? Before Quan could answer, Admiral Jinha joined them on the observation deck. Despite a year of intense diplomatic work, he looked energized rather than tired. "The Archon has approved the final text," Jinha announced. "The ceremony will begin in 1 hour." Harin smiled. "That's good news, sir." Jinha looked out at the Earth below them. "It's more than good news. It's the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. For the first time, we'll be dealing with the galaxy as equals, not as newcomers to be patronized or resources to be exploited." Quan turned to face the Admiral. "The intelligence report suggests 3 other species have begun accelerating their military development. They're trying to catch up to our level." "Let them try," Jinha replied calmly. "Our advantage was never just technology. It was patience, determination, the willingness to plan across generations." He gestured toward a datapad he was carrying. "This contains the complete text of the Terran Accords. Do you know what the most important section is?" Both officers shook their heads. "Article 7, Jinha said. "The Mutual Defense Clause. For the first time, Earth will formally ally with other worlds. We will protect them and they will support us." Harin looked surprised. "I thought we wanted independence, not entanglements." "Independence without allies is just isolation," Jinha explained. "We've proven our strength. Now, we need to prove our wisdom." Below them, the grand chamber where the signing would take place was filling with representatives from across the galaxy. Their body language was subdued compared to previous galactic gatherings. The memory of what had happened to the collective fleet was still fresh in everyone's mind. "What happens now?" Harin asked. "After the Accords are signed?" Jinha watched as Earth rose over the station's horizon, beautiful and blue. "Now we do what humans have always done best," he said. "We adapt, we build, and we ensure that the next time someone mistakes our restraint for weakness, the lesson is even clearer." The 3 officers made their way down to the grand chamber. It was a massive room with a circular table at its center. Around the table were seats for representatives of 23 galactic powers. At the head position was the seat for Earth, a symbolic placement that would have been unthinkable a year ago. As they entered, conversation stopped. All eyes turned to the human delegation. Jinha took his place at the table, while Quan and Harin stood behind him. The Archon, standing at the opposite end of the table, raised his forearms for silence. "Representatives of the galaxy," he began, his voice solemn. "We gather today to formalize a new relationship between our civilizations. The events of the past year have shown us that old assumptions must be discarded. New understandings must be reached. He gestured toward Jin-Ha. Humanity has demonstrated not only their military capability, but also their restraint. They could have used their hidden strength to dominate, yet they chose to defend and then negotiate. The collective representative, seated to the right of the Archon, looked uncomfortable but remained silent. The Terran Accords before you represent a new beginning, the Archon continued. They establish frameworks for cooperation, trade, and mutual defense that will benefit all signatories. One by one, representatives approached the center of the table to place their hand or appendage on the document scanner, formally adding their signature to the accords. When all had finished, Jin-Ha was the last to sign. As he placed his hand on the scanner, he spoke clearly for all to hear. Earth signs these accords in good faith, with hope for a future where strength need not be hidden and peace need not be enforced. The chamber erupted in polite applause. The ceremony was complete. Later, as the representatives mingled during the reception, Quan found himself approached by the Zalari delegate, the same one who had questioned Jin-Ha at the council meeting. A year ago, General Quan, the insectoid being, said, its translator converting clicks and whistles into human speech. My government has a question it hopes you might answer informally. Quan nodded. I'll answer if I can. We have analyzed what little we know of your military technology. Our scientists believe you must have been developing these systems for at least a century. Is this accurate? Quan smiled slightly. The quantum shields began development 170 years ago. The phase shift drives were conceptualized nearly 2 centuries ago, though the working prototypes are more recent. The Zalari's compound eyes seem to widen. But that would mean that we began developing these technologies before we even made contact with the galactic community. Quan finished for him. Yes. Humans have always prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. The alien delegate seemed troubled by this revelation. Were you expecting hostility from the beginning? Not expecting, Quan corrected. Preparing for the possibility. There's a difference. As the Zalari moved away to digest this information, Hareen joined Quan. Making friends? She asked with a small smile. Educating allies, Quan replied. They still don't fully understand us. Hareen looked around the chamber at the representatives of worlds that, until recently, had barely acknowledged humanity's existence. Will they ever understand us? She wondered. Perhaps not completely, Quan said. But they don't need to understand us to respect us. Across the room, Jin-Ha was engaged in conversation with the Archon and several other senior representatives. His expression was serious but not tense. This was the face of the new humanity, confident, powerful but not aggressive. I never thought I'd see this day, Hareen admitted. When I joined Earth Defense, I believed I would spend my career hiding our true capabilities, always in the shadows. Quan nodded. The shadows served their purpose. They gave us time to prepare. But now we step into the light. Outside the viewport, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun. But now it was not just another world among many. It was recognized as the home of a species that had mastered the art of patience, the science of preparation, and the wisdom to use power with restraint. The galaxy had trembled when humans revealed their true strength. But from that trembling had come a new order, one built not on illusions, but on the clear understanding of what it truly meant to challenge the species that had conquered its own nature long before reaching for the stars.